Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
All right, having said that, here is our first article of the day, which I think is the most interesting as well. Bitcoin's correlation with the Nasdaq 100 index reaches a new all-time high. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Bitcoin has shown a tendency to move in the same direction as the large companies listed on the Nasdaq 100 index. Recently, this correlation has grown a lot closer than ever before. And what we're seeing right here is a Bitcoin correlation with the Nasdaq. It's very interesting. Right now it's at 0.7 or so if I'm not mistaken, and that indeed is pretty severe. It's something which I didn't actually imagine, but indeed it's spiking right now, which is peculiar. You might say, oh well, it's because of tax season, because, well, generally speaking, people tax their crypto in the same sense they tax their stocks in most countries, and so, yeah, since we have a couple more weeks, I would say 2 more weeks of tax season, it's not too strange for these guys to actually be taking that out of their crypto right now, and out of their S&P funds, whatever, out of their stocks, out of their money basically, and taking it back in for a little while, I guess a couple weeks from now. So it's just something I'll quickly to put up for you guys. I honestly am not 1000% sure this is the truth, the whole tax idea, and a lot of people are mocking us for that specific idea. Then again, I do believe April is one of those months where if it falls, we can kind of blame taxes because it's the most logical thing we can imagine. Having said that, there's a huge amount of buying pressure from a lot of different sides. I mean, one part that we're seeing is, for example, some huge buying pressure over from the guys at Luna. Do Kwon from Terra Luna buys 4,000 Bitcoin, another $100 million transferred. You can clearly see they're buying huge bulks. It's just, for me, crazy to imagine that they're buying 4,000 Bitcoin in a week. Can you even imagine that, to buy 4,000 Bitcoin in a week? And actually, if you put into perspective how much they got, it's going pretty rapidly. I mean, from a certain perspective, they're not really close to the ETF or ETF likes. Even though I kind of feel as if we should put it into this spot too, as in the sense in which they're buying, it's kind of like a micro strategy, kind of like a grace. It's kind of like everything, right? Because they're buying it with no goal to let it go, but keeping it as reserves, which theoretically speaking will only get bigger, most likely never drop again. Having said that, it will most likely just be illiquid to the core. They'll just have it as a back end, and so they'll just kind of keep accumulating. Point being, it's kind of scary to realize the fact that the scarcity effect is kicking in so heavily, and it's happening right between our eyes or under our noses or whatever. A lot of people are not noticing it though. There's a couple other articles in that same little area. For example, check this out. Financial advisors want spot crypto ETFs but suspect the SEC won't budge. Here's a report. A new Nasdaq survey found that spot crypto exchange traded funds are hot in demand by most American financial advisors. A new Nasdaq survey revealed that 72% of financial advisors would be more likely to invest in crypto if a spot crypto ETF were available in the United States. The report also showed that most advisors were bullish on crypto, with 86% saying they expected to increase their crypto allocation over the next 12 months, and the US SEC has rejected all applications for a spot crypto exchange traded product despite the demand, which to me, all of this is really interesting. Financial advisors would buy more crypto spot ETFs were available. I think it's very logical. Right now, there's a pretty big hurdle in buying it. And so even though I think a lot of these financial advisors are not knowledgeable enough on the matter, they're pretty knowledgeable about ETFs. And if it gets there, the spot specific one, I think the chance of them taking that step to either learn a little bit more or help their clients, for example, out would be tremendously bigger if it were to be accepted. And at the end of the day, I don't really understand the SEC's way of thinking, because for what exact reasons could they be turning it down? Could we say, yeah, they're doing this because they want to protect investors? Well, yeah, but no, because at the end of the day, mostly the people that are going to be buying this are financial advisors or people with huge amounts of cash anyway. And if you want to buy Bitcoin, you can still do it in any way, shape, or form anyway on the free market. So is it then to combat illicit finance? Yeah, but by making a market a lot more liquid and allowing for a lot of bigger institutions to buy in, you're only legitimizing the space, allowing for bigger sanctions from higher ups, which would lead to less, percentage-wise, heavily even, crime or bad transactions basically. Not sure exactly what they can think of. Only market manipulation I could think of, but at the end of the day, the ETF I don't think is going to change too much except for just allowing more people to hop on in, which theoretically speaking should combat market manipulation. The more they're in there, the harder it gets. Then, this is some interesting news to me. Coinbase is facing regulatory issues. Apparently following their launch of a payment service over in India. Coinbase stopped the payment services on its platform just 3 days after the crypto exchange made it available over in India. The largest US-based exchange had used the Indian government's United Payments Interface payment portal to make the service available to Indian users, and apparently, UPI is controlled by the National Payment Corporation of India, which Coinbase used to facilitate buy and sell orders for its services in the country. The NPCI was established as a special division. If you didn't know, now you do. At least as of this point, you have some additional extra knowledge that you might never need, but hey, sources with knowledge of the matter said regulators may have suspended Coinbase's ability to use these UPIs for its services as it may not have gotten the proper authorization to use the payment portal. Last week, the NPCI said in a statement that it did not recognize the legal standing of Coinbase's use of the UPI portal, and right now they suspended it. We won't know exactly why or how it all works, nor should we really care. The fact is, though, that this is showing some, infancy in the crypto market still, in the sense that eventually this will not be a problem for anybody anywhere anymore. It's just now because everything is being quote-unquote built. Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, reveals his top crypto picks. A Shark Tank star discussed Bitcoin Layer 1 crypto and the future of crypto adoption in an exclusive interview with Cointelegraph. At the end of the day, guys, I'm not exactly sure why people would listen to people like Kevin O'Leary for the crypto advice. At the end of the day, remember, these people have made a fortune, yes, but that means absolutely nothing for future fortunes in a sense. Even though they're business magnates and they might know exactly what they're doing in that sense, I don't think they can predict accurately what crypto will pop off and which one won't, that they're not biased by or for. It's the same thing as saying, for example, I invented Coca-Cola, but there's a Pepsi competitor. Well, since I invented this, or I'm a very big shareholder in this, I think this one will do the best, even though maybe a lot more people like Pepsi. And you're noticing that in all the statistics. You're like, well, but I made cola. I think it's the best. I think it's amazing. Doesn't necessarily have to be, though, if you guys get my drift. In that same sense, the picks, it just depends on what exactly the reasoning for that is. And I would definitely like to add that I think keeping the majority of our money in crypto is a risky thing, but it's the way I've chosen, it's the way I'm going to keep it up for as long as I can kind of think about. But there's a specific point in me which also thinks, man, in due time, I should indeed get some portions of my money out of crypto and put it into completely different things. For example, I like watches, maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe like something else, I don't know exactly what you like, houses or whatever. If you're getting wealthier off of crypto, it's definitely a recommended thing in my opinion to kind of diversify your portfolio into different sectors, not necessarily because crypto might, wreck itself or something might happen, but purely for this generational wealth that we talk about. You might have $5 million in your crypto, $50 million, $500 million in your crypto. Yeah, but it's all in one sector. First of all, it's not safe. Second of all, diversification as a principle is just something that should be respected. And you can always diversify in one sector, like the crypto sector, just buy different crypto, yeah, but over different asset classes and everything like that, I think it's always the best, if you guys get my drift. Man, my explanations are not on point today, but I think everybody just gets the logic behind this. It's just better to keep it into multiple different sectors, but for right now, for accumulating wealth, not just keeping it safe, basically, I would personally go for mostly crypto, as I don't know what will get us a better return, as I obviously believe that if you want to go for like a more stable return of like, let's say 40% a year or so, DeFi is definitely your best bet to go for. Easiest is 20% a year, but you can definitely bump it up 50, 70% or so a year if you are good with it as of this point as well. Then about Cardano, Snoop Dogg collaborates with Clay Nation to launch NFT collection on Cardano. Pretty excited about that, not necessarily because it's Snoop Dogg or Cardano necessarily, but it's like the mix of making Cardano more popular through these loops is the same sense as which they are making the XP Ledger more popular through Michael Jordan's collection. It's just helping out for the crypto space as a whole. And then, man, I really don't want to take more of your time, but it is getting crazy in here. I am talking about the Ripple v SEC lawsuit. It is insane. The amount of people that are talking about this every single day, the amount of dirt that's been dug up, it's just mind-blowing, to be honest with you. And right now, I'm not doing too many updates on it purely because I'm waiting for the bigger and juicier news. Again, remember guys, we've been doing this for 1.5 years. We've been covering it almost every single day. I knew every single detail of it. Right now, I'm starting to notice, why would we cover all these small little finds unless there's something conclusive which is going to maybe change the price or get us some new insights into some new crazy theory or something like that? I think people are getting tired of it, and if you guys are not though, if you guys would like to see even more lawsuit updates or more finds from people like the lawyers like John Deaton or so, let me know down below. I'll definitely check it out and take a look at it. But that's my thought process, that it's a lot smarter basically to just do it whenever there's a really big update that's going to be groundbreaking. Then again, at the end of the day, there's so much stuff happening. One thing that's, I think, very interesting is the fact that right now within the lawsuit, it's still very hard for Ripple to get these documents. And it's, to me, really interesting how much the XRP community, for example, and the people that involved have found out from like outside sources like YouTube, for example, all these different speeches that are in public records and whatnot. And now, of course, the FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act request from Empower.us. They also did a very good job. And it's kind of funny to me how we can find all these different details, all these different contradictions, all these different conflicts of interest, supposedly. Yet, Ripple is still having a hard time just getting the basics of the basics out of the SEC. And that's, again, potentially a flaw within the legal system. The fact that it's so hard to get information from somebody who's suing you that's supposed to be completely out and open for the people. And again, that's what I guess the most important point behind this entire lawsuit. I personally think if the SEC is doing this to protect investors, that's cool. But it's not reasonable because they're hurting investors way more than helping them. And you might say, well, but they're helping for whatever XP's market cap is worth. It cost them 1.5 billion or so. No, I guess the damage they claim is 1.5 billion, but it's way more for all the XP holders that are still getting scammed, yada yada. Remember that that's not exactly what is happening for the most part. I mean, the biggest reason what the SEC is saying is Ripple and XRP is kind of like the same thing, sort of, and basically when you're buying XP, you're buying a part of Ripple. It is not actually saying that they're going to make this thing go to zero or that they're trying to exit scam people. It's just that they're two sort of similar or one in another. Just to give a little indication of that, the fact is not they're going to get out of here and become worthless. The SEC doesn't claim that or think that. So just saying XP is a scam is going to go to zero, it makes not really much sense to put it into the lawsuit perspective of why that would be the case. But what is the case is that they're saying, yeah, well, we're going to stop people from getting hurt or so, or what. I'm not exactly sure, if you guys get my drift, where in any of this story, the people, even for buying unregistered securities, for example, would have gotten hurt more than what the SEC did now, if you guys get my drift. You might say, yeah, but those were unregistered securities. Hypothetically speaking, even if they were, I still suppose that the SEC has hurt investors more with the method in which they've done it now, and through this entire process, we've seen now 65,000 people sign it, so the numbers speak very loudly and very clearly.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.